come out of a teleconference with the state health people. So, Roger, do you see any issues with us limiting or restricting the number of people who are in our public facilities at a time?
Absolutely not. And even more so given the direction we got from the health department officials this morning.
Okay, all right, before we move on, any other discussion?
Roger, this is Alan. I made that motion. Do I need to include the tag office, or do we need to do that tag office in a separate motion?
I think I might treat the tag office in a separate manner, Alan.
Okay.
Obviously, Tim's taken a good bit of ownership about that, it seems to, so let's deal with that as a separate motion, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
Roger, this is Steve. I got a question. Good morning.
Good morning.
If we were to close the courthouse with the exception of strictly emergency personnel, would we be overreaching as a commission at this point?
I think so. I haven't got any information that would say close everything down. I think what you have now is authority to limit access to essential functions.
Thank you.
Okay, Roger, I'll wait on that, never mind. We need to finish this before we, all right, any other comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, employees who have personal issues or become suspect or become infected, how do we handle those, Roger?
All right. I sent you yesterday
Right?
or Saturday. My days are running together, so forgive me if I got the wrong day. A communication to consider sending.
We have that all in front of us now.
I think it is really, really important that something like that memo be sent out to all employees, because you don't know within your employee base who's traveled and who hadn't. You don't know if anybody at their home is exhibiting symptoms. You don't want to make them feel guilted into coming to work in the face of seeing these things that are on the sheet. Now, we can modify that sheet if y'all have some concerns about it. I put that together a bit as a model from other things that I've been working on principally for the two-year college system. But I think it is important to communicate to those folks and to put out in writing what your expectations are for them. If they've traveled, or if they, what you want them to do if they've had a fever and all that sort of thing.
Well, we have one employee in the courthouse this morning that is a single mother, and her child is at home, and the Y isn't open, and her first question to her boss this morning was, if I can't come to work, do I get paid? And there's some state guidelines and some federal guidelines, and are you ready to answer that question at this point?
Well, I can answer it this way. Any employee who, under the CDC guidance, which is what this document I prepared gives you, who has traveled to 2 and 3 advisory places, or who has, in other words, if we force 14-day quarantine on them because they have symptoms or they have these vulnerabilities, then I think what you're going to get from Congress is going to be that we're going to wind up not being able to charge them simply a personal leave for those things. Now, if it is simply a fear or an anxiety response, a concern response of I want to stay home, and you have a gone to work from home policy, then that's an elective for that person, and you would expect, I think, in that scenario, to charge charge the personal leave or sick leave. I think you can use sick leave for this one. Doesn't have to necessarily fall strictly in the sick leave policy. But if you don't have a consistent application of that, and I think your HR person would back this up, if you don't have a consistent application of that, then you're going to have one-off personal circumstances driving you crazy.
Roger, Jimmy Hardy. I think that, but and I could, if I may, Mr. Chairman, be on the line. I think I'm on the lines of not having child care at home. Would she be punished for not being able to come? Because I knew that. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
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 He's talking more on them lines, and would they be if they don't have sick leave or whatever time, and they don't have child care at home? And you know, that was a question from me too. Could you hit on that matter?
Well, this is the same situation, Jimmy, that the schools closures we're facing.
Mm-hmm.
Because once they close schools and send all the children home, some of the parents are still working. And there was an acknowledgement that that was going to create a hardship for some. And it's just kind of part of the inconvenience that we have to suffer dealing with this
Right.
global emergency. You all obviously have the power and the authority to decide you want to, show more leniency about that in this situation if you choose to. What I'm saying to you is, if you choose to do it over child care, then you're going to more than likely be faced with others who just want to make an elected
Right.
decision that may not be driven by child care necessarily, but it may be because of fear and anxiety and whatever that they have that says, I want to stay home, but I don't want to lose my pay. So if you get outside the CDC guidelines is where you get into a riskier area when you start authorizing that. And I would say this, y'all have a small number, I guess, of employees compared to a lot of organizations. And it may be that you're small enough that you want to just make that decision because it's the right thing to do, and show that empathy and compassion for your employees. And anybody who needs or requests voluntary work from home because of whatever their circumstances are, you certainly have the authority to do that.
Hey, Roger, we just been told that we got possibly 3 confirmed cases in the county now.
Well, listen, this is going to increase. This is the beginning of this. I didn't want to inject fear into that whole meeting this morning, but this is all anticipated that these numbers are going to climb because the testing is just now getting released. In fact, part of the state health officer's message this morning is there's now going to be additional, more regionally located test sites to improve and speed up the testing. So we're only going to see these numbers grow in every county and every city. And so I think these restrictions I don't know if we'll be moved to a level 3 country. I guess that's going to depend on how fast it goes. But if we reach that status, then we're going to be faced with total shutdown, as y'all know.
Chairman, I asked the sheriff to come down so we could tell him what we've just passed so that he can go and start implementing it.
Okay. Go ahead, Alan, if you will.
We're limited to 10 people at one time. As 10 comes in, and then as one goes out, then another can come in. But there's only going to be people doing business. If the husband and wife shows up, and the husband has got business, that's the only one that can come in. If the wife's got business, that's the only one that can come in.
Well, like we went up there a while ago, there's only 2 people in this courthouse now.
Hey, Alan, may I interject one thing?
Yes, sir.
If the deputies working at the front door that are going to be policing this,
I'll be there in a minute.
on the outside of the courthouse, people who may be lining up to come in need to maintain the 6-foot distancing out there. They don't need to congregate, huddling up, which they will be prone to do. That's just human nature. But this happened at Sam's in Jefferson County over the weekend where they limited the store to 10 at a time, and then all they did was produce a crowd standing in the parking lot talking.
Well, we had the same situation here this morning. we put out a request for the department heads to come to this meeting, and we wound up with
56.
56 people here this morning. And it was an awful environment and it should have never happened. But now it's a public meeting, so it is what it is. So that leads to my next question.
That's right.
If I set up a conference call number for us to communicate together with, how can we do that legally when we're dealing with the health and safety of our community moving forward in a fluid situation?
Well, there's a couple of things that we can do about that. I think as long as we get public notice, and if there's a dial-in and people have access to participate in that call, to listen into that call, that is, then I think you can still deal with it. I think another way is if you've got, and I don't know if y'all have a state official, if a state official is participating in that call, then you don't even have to have a public notice of it. But I think the better part of value would be to publish it, give notice of it, and you all could, if you chose to, you could rotate the meetings so that you've got folks that are involved in the meeting, but if you're teleconference or videoing, you want to maintain your own 6-foot distance for each other, so that you can address the spatial distancing issue, which seems to be the big point of all this preventative direction that's going on. And I tell you, I will get you guys. I am finishing up with my governmental practice group this morning an overall guidance memo on public meetings for public bodies that we can get out to all of our municipal clients as well as our counties, and I can get that to you. There's several different things to look at about that, but I don't think right now the governor's declaration of emergency does not eliminate the need for proper posting and the conducting of business in an open meeting forum. So while you can have, I think you can restrict access. I think you guys, however, may have to meet in an environment. You don't have to meet in that chamber there. You can be wherever you want to that will accommodate that spacing and provide access of listening into news media or whomever, and cast it in light of the guidelines that we're under. But I think for now, you've got to observe the open meeting requirement, but you don't have to let them come into the chamber with you. You don't have to they just simply got to have access to hear the meeting.
Well, let me ask you, this is Jimmy again. So even in an emergency, making decisions with department heads, when we go in a closed door meeting, I can't think of the name. What's the name? Executive. Can you not go in executive meeting with the under the there are a clause in there under the public safety?
Well, that's a very limited area, Jimmy, for doing executive session.
Okay.
You've got to, in order to get to executive session, you've got to first go into a regular
Got you.
meeting and then
I
go
just
into executive
I was just wondering.
session.
Okay.
Yeah. So I tell you what y'all could do if you were so minded that might eliminate your own personal need for having a bunch more meetings. That is, you all could agree essentially by a resolution to appoint a couple of you guys as sort of a decision makers for dealing with these COVID policies and open and closing procedures, and just let that communication come back through as communication and not have to gather back up for additional meetings. It'd be a tantamount to giving some executive, executive authority, or like an executive committee to one or more of y'all to be able to deal with all that. You might include the county administrator in that. I don't know, that however you want to do that. I'm just trying to think of a way that all of you all didn't have to gather back up. Let's say we get a new directive this afternoon at 3:00. Then what?
Well, that's exactly what we're all already anticipating is this thing is so fluid. And Steve was just pointing out a minute ago, New York has started closing their government. So this thing it's fluid, and I think it's going to change a lot throughout the day and the week to come, especially. And we're going to be in a situation as the governing body of the county where we're going to have to be able to react accordingly.
Well, how about this? How about you all consider a resolution that appoints a COVID-19 response task force that includes, I don't know,
3 commissioners, no more than 3 commissioners, and then
no
you,
more than 3.
EMA.
You don't have a problem, and have the county administrator, the sheriff, and myself be a part of that task force, and we can all get on a conference call.
and EMA.
You need EMA on there also.
I was just gonna point out too, ACCA has also got a webinar this afternoon.
Yeah, I showed it. Well, I'll make a resolution that we appoint a COVID-19
Task force.
task force. I'd like to be a part of that task force. Just throwing it out there.
I would also like to be a part of that task force.
So that's a
Do we
motion.
have a second to establish a task force?
Second.
Okay, floor is open for communication or comments. We have a motion and a second to establish a COVID-19 task force. I would like to, based on the communication with our attorney, I'd like to have Derek Wright, our sheriff, and our administrator participate in this task force, along with 3 commissioners to be agreed upon by this commission.
Why don't we say all the commissioners, and in that way we'll all know what we'll all be informed and can inform the public as they call us. Because if 3 commissioners is just on it and not all of us, then
Then we have to have a quorum though.
If we have
no,
more
we
than,
ain't gonna meet. We're just talking about.
We're talking about
Roger,
meet.
if all the
Oh, to meet.
commissioners
Meet,
are
yeah,
involved
to
in
meet.
this phone call / teleconference / meeting,
That's-
would that require public notice?
Yeah, if they're gonna participate in a meeting, anytime we have a forum,
Yeah,
where
a
there's
forum.
deliberations taking place, you would have to give a public notice.
But we also could establish some parameters where as soon as the meeting ended, that the administrator could send out a communication to everyone telling them what had been discussed and what actions were being taken, right?
Well, yeah, actually, that probably ought to come from me so we can get that as an attorney-client privilege document.
Right.
Okay.
Hey, Roger, if we do this as a call-in, the other commissioners could call in and listen, they just
But
couldn't
can't
participate.
Yes, you can do it that way if you wanted to.
Well, it's pretty simple to either borrow or set up a conference call in to make available for us. And that's not something that's difficult to do. And we're gonna be in a position where we're gonna have to make some calls based on the information that's coming in. We need somebody else to volunteer,
I will.
okay?
Hey, and if for some reason one of y'all can't, let me know and I'll fill in.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So who is
So
that?
with you too, Steve, right? Correct?
Jimmy and Joseph and who else?
Alan, and then we're gonna include the sheriff, the EMA director, and the administrator.
We could list Steve and Joseph as
As
alternates.
And Steve and Joe are gonna be
In
alternates.
case one of us is not available.
Well, we may wind up getting sick and not being
That's
able
right.
to participate.
So we need alternates.
Can I make a suggestion on
Yes,
that?
Please.
Alan is over the age bracket that where it goes to a higher risk. Why don't we put Matt on it and you've got people at least under the age bracket, you're informed the meeting. based
Pick it
what
on me,
people
ain't it?
That's a
advise.
great
Well,
idea.
Matt couldn't meet
Oh,
here
man.
this morning, much less in another meeting, so I don't think that's a good idea.
I mean, it's just a suggestion,
You want,
I'm in that age bracket.
just a suggestion.
Yeah, Sylvia and I the same age.
I'm just.
I'm fine.
The old folks.
So.
I mean, I'm fine.
So here's, we have a motion and a second. We have three. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. And what we will do is, when we get ready to have a call in, if there's somebody unavailable, Ms. Sylvia, you can reach out to one of the
Yeah, John.
alternates so that we don't wind up with a quorum.
Well, they can listen in, but they just can't speak. Everybody's gonna be able to listen in. It's just like if I say, hey, I can listen, but I ain't able to
Good,
talk.
okay.
Joe, can you take that, or Steve, correct, or Matt, either one?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and let me say
Okay.
this.
Did you get a chance to tell your people at the door, or we need to
The
tell them?
task force listens in and has thoughts that need to be considered. You all can communicate directly with me under a privileged
Yes, sir.
communication anytime. So you
Yes.
can send me a text or an email
Thank
Okay.
you.
of anything that you would like for me to consider as
Right.
a part of this program.
Yeah.
That way we don't.
Client
we don't have
privilege.
you sitting there,
You
you
don't
know,
have to go.
like
He
jumping up
didn't
and down
drown.
about to have a heart attack because of something that you see.
They got him out of the water.
I don't want to miss that.
Still alive.
Okay. All right, so when we leave here this morning, we've got some operation protocols.
He didn't drown.
We, who was it?
I don't know, but I think that's what he's trying to tell you.
Okay, all right. So Roger, we've got some protocols that we're gonna put in place. We're putting tape in front of all of the windows, and we're gonna post and tell and ask the public not to come past the tape, which will establish that 6 foot, barrier at all the counters. All right, we're gonna limit the amount or number of people in the courthouse to a maximum of 10 people from the public at a time. And that'll be monitored at the door, and it'll be one in, one out after the 10 people. Tim is back in the room now. There's a suggestion that we limit the number of people in the tag office to possibly four at a time. Do you have an issue with that?
That was what I came back down here for. What I would like to see, if we have 5 clerks working, we're gonna have to have a deputy or somebody at the door to control the people going in. But if there's 5 clerks working, allow 5 in. If there's 4 working, allow 4 in. But I don't have the power to say that I'm gonna have a deputy there. That's the reason I came back. Am I gonna have somebody to help monitor this from the sheriff's department?
We're gonna have to provide that.
Gonna have to.
I'm sure we.
We'll have to coordinate that with the sheriff, but
Right. That was gonna be my next stop.
if we've
after I
gotta
talked
make
y'all.
the funding available for that, we can do that.
If needed to, Tim, Mr. Chairman, excuse me,
Okay.
but can you make sure you get with, if this is okay, with Mr. Hardwick to make sure you got the supplies you need for cleaning over there?
Supposed to have that worked out.
Okay.
Don't have it yet,
'Cause we
but
won't-
we have it coming.
Long-
Another thing, that since we're gonna limit the number of people in and out of the facility over there, if it goes to raining, I prefer just lock the door. You know what I
Didn't
mean?
have them
We
stand
don't-
outside.
We can't ask. them to
Just
step
temporarily
outside.
close.
Temporarily closed, and this isn't gonna be perfect.
No,
Nobody's gonna be
But
happy.
I want us open. We need to be open.
yeah.
Right.
All right, I'm gonna ask for a resolution now that we limit the number of people from the public in the tag office to a 1-to-1 ratio to the clerks on duty.
I'll make that resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further
With
discussion?
also add to the resolution that if it's raining, that we will be temporarily closed due to the outside facility not be,
For the
yeah,
employee, don't
that's right.
For the public, okay. We got a,
You know, for
motion's
discussion,
open for discussion.
we could, if we needed to leave it open, we could issue them a number and they go back and sit in their car.
Sure.
And that's,
Sure.
that,
Or leave their phone number and they could be called and say, come
That's
in.
right.
mhm.
Sure.
Yeah. We'll leave that to the discretion of the tag office and Tim, don't you think so?
Yeah, yeah.
Cause you know better than we do.
Yeah, we all know, this is new
Your
grant.
department,
That's
sir.
right, that's right.
Yeah, we
Yeah, I
can,
think that's a great idea.
yeah, we can write a number or we
Yeah.
can get their phone number. I mean,
Okay.
So,
Let's address the deputy, since this is gonna get to be too
Yeah.
big of a deal.
well, I think we've got 2 working up front. If we limited to 10 people, then we may not need both of them. We might could use one of them.
Okay.
do it.
We have one.
Yeah, bailiff's upstairs.
But there will be some essential court functions taking place.
Well, we could get with the sheriff. Do we need to add that to the resolution or go ahead and vote on
I
this?
say let's do that as a separate resolution.
Okay, let's vote on this one then.
Any other comment of limiting the ratio of public people in the tag office to a 1-to-1 ratio with the clerks at any given point in time? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, and then, we also need, as a point of record, to, let it be known or made record of that we're going to work with the sheriff to provide a deputy to do traffic control at the, tag office.
I'll make that resolution that we, allow to work with the sheriff to provide us a deputy to control traffic over there, as long as be needed until things change and, for the tag office.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Second,
Oh, who
Need a second.
second? Who seconds?
nobody did.
Anybody second? We got a
Joe.
second at Joe. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Excuse me.
All right, so we
Easy.
have the, so we have the limitations, we have the barriers. What I'd like to do is let's do a public statement of asking people that are not in an emergency situation or an essential situation, asking them to restrict their usage to the courthouse if possible until this pandemic passes. And if it is an emergency situation, to only bring the people who are involved to the facility. So I'm just going through the things that we need to do as far as the posting. These are things that have already been discussed. I don't perceive them need to be in a resolution format, but we need to post these things on Facebook. We need to put them on signs in front of the doors, explaining to people what we're doing.
You'll put something out there for us, Mr. Chairman. We'll share it.
I think Sylvia needs to send us what we're gonna put on Facebook where we'll all be in the same,
Yeah.
have the same note. We
Right.
don't need to,
Let me make one suggestion on all this.
Please.
The better, best practice on this is to have one point of contact for those communications for incoming and outgoing, so that we don't have problems of inconsistency in messaging. So if Sylvia's going to be that person, then we need to make sure we've given her kind of sign off or approval, because we don't want to have to be retracting and changing something. So I just think we need one person to have a consistent message to the community.
You want that in a resolution?
No, I don't
Okay.
think we have to have a resolution on that. I
Okay.
just think that that's just a best practice I'm suggesting, Jimmy.
Well, her being our administrator, I think that would be a great idea, because her being here with everything, her communicating with our chairman, because our chairman usually handles our media, right, Mr. Chairman?
That's right.
And then she can put it out to us, and then we can put it out there on social media and try to just educate people the best we can through the paper and any source that we can for that.
Roger, is there any value in the county commission declaring a state of emergency within the county?
No.
Okay.
The only real reason for those declarations is it releases public funds that are set aside in those emergency funds. That's why the president released his. That gave him discretion and the authority to release all that money to get the testing going. The governor then has that authority to release funds as well. So those declarations really have to do with access to federal grant funds.
Okay. All right. So we have our task force. We will open a line of communication. That can be through a group text. It can be through a call-in or a face-to-face meeting or a group of all of the above. But we will keep that open and all of us be available until we get this sorted out, because this is new ground.
Right. And Roger, at any time because I know you're keeping up close with this because you are attorney, at any time that anything changes, because it just at a brief moment it can change. I'm sure you'll let the contact know by email or best probably by text, because if I don't watch my email all the time, whichever is good for you.
Okay, sure.
Because I don't, which I try to keep up with my email, but and I'll make sure text is better for.
Text is
better
something that, as far as the first alert.
Yeah.
So it
for
might
us.
be, send us a text and say, check your email.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Perfect.
Okay.
Did you agree on the communication you want to send out to all the employees that requires reporting?
Well, we haven't adopted that, but I think that's something that we probably should adopt. That's your recommendation to us that we adopt this?
Yeah, I absolutely do, because I
Yeah.
don't know how else you control what may be in the unique minds or lives of your employees if you don't give them some requirement to let you know if they have had travel or if they're having issues within their house. And by following this procedure, you get the implication of the 14-day quarantine and they don't lose personal leave.
Okay. All right, so I would ask for a resolution that we improve the employee communication as provided by our attorney.
I'll make out resolutions that we adopt the Chilton County COVID-19 employee communication recommended by attorney.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right, guys, so before we adjourn, let's just make a record that our task force will remain in constant communication. If any of you hear of or learn anything pertinent or significant, initiate a group text, and then we'll go from there to a call-in number to be established later today. Thanks, guys.
I make
All
a
right.
motion, we adjourn.
We'll make a
Second.
motion. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Hit that.